I So we're gonna be about 1 minute, so please, yeah, just stay quiet a little bit. Thank you. So let's go ahead and get started. I don't know if does this sound worse than just this? Which sounds better? Can you hear me okay if I speak like that? Is this better? Really? Right. No. So I just want to welcome everybody to the first event in our speaker series in the School of Art and Design. There have been speakers, visiting artists, visiting lecturers in the past, but this now is a little bit more official. We're calling it a lecture series, so stay tuned for events that are going to happen next semester. I'll say more about that in a second. So if you don't know me, I'm David Politzer. I'm the new-ish director of the School of Art and Design. My office is literally next door, 212, 214 PFA. So if you are a School of Art and Design student, or even if you're not, and you have an idea, or you have a problem or an issue, or you just want to come in and say hi, my door is almost always open, and I welcome you to come in and tell me what's on your mind. Some of the best ideas, some of the best things improvements that we can make come from you, the students. So please feel free to pop in and tell me what you're thinking. I'm excited to introduce Andrew Teagarden, who's going to then introduce Lucky Salway, our visiting artist for today. But first, I just want to thank the Visiting Artist Committee, which is Kate Yun, Jay Lee in the back, Spence Townsend, who's a new faculty, who's right there. Helen Hawley, who's new faculty as well, and Andrew Teagarden, who's also new faculty, and David Williams, who I don't see. He's not here today. So thanks for your hard work on bringing Lucky here and for your continued hard work for next semester. Hopefully you saw the artwork that is in the rest of the Beasley Gallery on your way in. Those are graduating BFA students, so congratulations to them. If you are a School of Art and Design student, you will be doing that someday. So that's your future. You will have an exhibition in the Beasley Gallery. So next semester, the visiting artist is Daisy Quesada Orenia. She's from New Mexico. She teaches in New Mexico. She's a ceramicist, works in ceramics and is a sculptor. So like I said, stay tuned for the date and time for that, but it'll be here again. And I sent out an email to this effect. So spread the word if this is not a commonly understood concept, but as students, you pay college fees. I'm sure you know that you pay college fees, right? It's like the tuition and then that little nickel and dimey thing that's on your bill. So that money goes towards events like this. So if you are if you're trying to get maximum bang for your buck as a college student, you really want to attend events like this. And also, you're working with excellent faculty in your classrooms who are professional artists, but it's different than seeing a professional artist in this context when they're talking specifically about their work. You don't really get to see your faculty act that way or work that way. So this is a very unique opportunity that can be life-changing, I think. Just a couple announcements before I introduce Andrew. So there's a ceramics sale. Any ceramics BFAs here? No? Okay. There's a ceramics sale happening over in the ceramics area, and that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I was going to ask you when the hours are because I don't know the hours, but it's a great opportunity to buy ceramics from your classmates. And then another thing to keep on, to look out for is we're going to have a welcome back party next semester at the beginning. Now I've said it, now it has to happen. So there will be, it'll probably be in Beasley again, and we'll have food and drink and just kind of hang out. Okay. So Andrew T. Gardner, Professor of Art Education.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so thank you all for coming out. I know it's a busy time in the semester, so making the time is just always a big deal. So thank you for that. My name is Andrew Teagarden. I'm the art education professor, and I'm from South Texas originally. And I've lived and taught in towns kind of all over the border. Alpine, Texas, Silver City, New Mexico, Tucson, now here. So just kind of where I'm coming from that way. And, thinking about these places, I just wanted to make sure we do a land acknowledgement. We are on the ancestral and current lands of many peoples, but particularly the Dene. And I'm actually still kind of getting to know the land here. So is there any other groups that we'd like to sort of represent? Oh, the Hopi, of course. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I just think that's really important because it keeps us thinking about our responsibilities to places and people and community. And recognizing histories so we can form new connections. So that's important. I wanted to thank Lucky for sure for coming all this way. I want to also thank David for even starting the Visiting Artist series, and then of course the committee that's put this together, who's already been mentioned, particularly Jay, who's kind of leading it up. Jay over there. All right, so we came here for Lucky. So more about Lucky. I met Lucky at an event called Made in Tucson. It's like a maker's market in Tucson that's really successful, I think. And I saw his booth and his t-shirts and his stickers. And I grabbed a bunch of stickers. So this says Shuksan, which is the traditional way of saying Tucson. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of important. So I grabbed a bunch of stickers. I gave them away to folks. And I was going to some other booths, and I saw another booth by an artist named Alex Jimenez, another Tucson-based artist. And I think Lucky and Alex has a connection. You share a studio, do you not? And then I was like, I want them to come and talk to students. So I invited them both. Alex couldn't do it. This was when I was teaching in Tucson, but Lucky accepted. And he came and showed, we had a hot t-shirt press, like a t-shirt press, heat transfer press. We had one at the school. It was some after school program, but never used, never out of the box. And I was talking to Lucky, and I was remembering, oh, Lucky does that kind of t-shirt making. And I asked him to come. He showed us how to use the t-shirt press. He brought some of his designs. We made t-shirts with the students. We spent the next 6 weeks making t-shirts. The students were so into it because, it's pride, it's representation, it's expression, it's fashion, it's graphic design. So that was a really successful project that Lucky inspired with, 100 middle schoolers. So Lucky is a painter and muralist. printmaker and designer. His studios are Arrowhead Inc. and True Descendants Trading Company, established BC. An important award he's received is the Project Creosote Rebuilding Grant. And I hope he talks about some of these murals he's made over the last few years. There's one called You're on Autumn Land, and We Are Still Here in Tucson. And Established BC in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. And I think you've recently finished a mural in Tucson, have you not? Okay. And I'll just read this last part. It's from the bio. So Mr. Salway organizes community events and fundraisers, draws inspiration from celestial knowledge, cultural symbolism, and ancestral tales of perseverance. He has Tana Otham and Oglala Lakota roots. His upcoming series, The Deception of Perception, is set to challenge and dissect the complex perceptions surrounding colonization and its lasting effects on our lives. Lucky, take us away.
Thank you. Did it. How do I click on this? When I want to move to the next one, how do I do it?
Just,
It's fine where it's at.
you can just,
Press
yeah.
the arrow, okay. Okay. Go back. That one.
This one, right?
No. Okay, cool. Thank you all for inviting me here to talk. This is like my third time talking in front of people, so excuse me if I mess up. So my name's Lucky Salway. I'm Tohono O'odham and Oglala Lakota. My mom is from, she was raised right on the border of Mexico and like about 30 minutes south of Sales, Arizona. My dad was born and raised in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. And so that's where I get my Lakota side from. And my O'odham side is from my mom. So I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and on winter solstice. And if something about winter solstice is and the Phoenix is, it has a lot to do with each other. It's pretty crazy. So if you know about Phoenix, what it is, it's a bird rising from the ashes, right? And it has to do with sun symbolism. So during winter solstice is symbolically when the sun dies and then rises up on the 25th. So that's like death and rebirth right there. And that's what a phoenix is, you know. So Phoenix is kind of like another, you know, winter solstice is the same thing as Phoenix. So. And I was born on this day in Phoenix. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I was born in 1973. And so let me go here. So I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, like I said, with the sun symbolism on this. This is the new design I just working on. Actually, it's hasn't really come out yet, but I have there's like a woman harvesting the saguaro right here in the bottom right corner. On the left, she's carrying fruits or whatever, pots, stuff that they have on their baskets. Oh, I'm sorry. So, damn, what's that? Okay. So, so yeah, so I was born in Phoenix. I did a lot. I'm interested about my birthday. I was born on winter solstice. During this time in winter solstice, the sun like symbolically dies. Like I looked this up and it says the symbolism of the phoenix is often associated with that of the sun. Like the sun, the phoenix is born, there's a set period of time and then dies, only to repeat the whole process. In some ancient depictions of the phoenix, it's portrayed with a halo as a reminder of its connection to the sun. And it involved, what the phoenix is a symbol of death and resurrection, or death and rebirth. Next. So my first design I started off with was, I was trying to incorporate my culture in with the land that we're on. And I came up with this design. It usually said Arizona over it, and I replaced it. The sun was just a solid color. I put the maize there. I added the lady harvesting the Dutch, which is the saguaro. So the stick that she has in her hand, that's actually made out of a dried saguaro rib. When the saguaros dry up, they dry up and fall, and we take the sticks off of them. And they're really long and they're really light. So like a grandma like this could easily tie two long sticks and be really long, and they could reach all the way to the top of those saguaros, because when the saguaro fruit ripens, all the animals in the desert are going for that fruit. And the birds have the best chance of getting it, because they're the ones that can fly up there. So anyway, I started with this design, and I started selling my t-shirts. It was the first time doing it, and I wasn't really comfortable selling. I'm a pretty tall dude, and I think I'm intimidating. So I would like look at people and like look at my shirts, and they would just like look at me and then look away, and they wouldn't even look at my stuff, So it's like, man, this sucks. So anyway, that was my first experience with that. And then after that, right after that event, then that's when the pandemic hit. So after the pandemic hit, I had to we had the lockdown. During the lockdown, I created this design, and it was pretty interesting because I finished it, and I had another Tono Autumn artist say that I was like disrespecting the maize somehow. So I started doing a little bit of research about like the bobcat and its connection to the land. And there was like connections, like their number one enemy is the tricksters, the coyote, kind of like in our world, and it was indigenous to these lands. And so I went back and researched to the U of A's mascot history, and I found out that from 1915 to 1959, they actually used a real live bobcat. And they got him from an army blacksmith. They sold him that bobcat for $9.41. And they took him to the U of A, and they caged him up, and they tried to teach him tricks. Within the first year, excuse me, the bobcat tried to jump from a tree to another tree and hung himself and died. And just so happens that was on April 17th, 1915. The day that I was researching the story, that was the same day that he died. And so I ended up naming him after him, Rufus. So that's how he got the name Rufus. But yeah, I thought that was pretty crazy that 105 years to the day. I read the story about this bobcat. So from 1959 to now, they adopted the Wilbur, who they have now. When I first the design came out, this lady wearing it was my brother-in-law's sister, and she does a lot of government work. And I had just given her a mask, and she took it and she was wearing it, and she didn't even know it had a maze in it. She actually worked with the president of the U of A and walked up to him with the mask, and he noticed it, and he liked it. He asked for one, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then, so she was actually doing a commercial for the governor at the time. So if you look at the Instagram, it says Doug Ducey. That's who the governor is. I don't know, familiar with politics much, but anyway, she was doing a commercial for him, and he was really against the mask at the time. I don't know if you remember, but then they made him do a commercial. So then when he did the commercial, it was funny, they ended up using my mask somehow. I don't know, it's pretty funny. So this is my first setup when the pandemic happened. There was all kinds of masks right here. I just had come up with my designs, and I was going out to the reservation and I was selling my mask, but I was also putting my t-shirts out here on the side. And that's kind of how I got known. They're like, on the reservation, they were calling me the mask man. So I did that, and then once that kind of like so in our culture, like I was telling you, we use the sticks. So this is like the lady right here actually using the stick to harvest the saguaro fruit. And so the end of that year, I put together this mural. This is my first piece of art since high school, like from tagging and stuff like that. I cut out some stencils. I think I used like a light projector and projected it on like some paper and drew the lettering, cut it out, and then I just put the letterings up there. I used tape. It took a long time, you know, but I was determined to get it done, and I was a screen printer, which is I do heat press stuff too, but I started out screen printing, so that's kind of like my process of my art was kind of like using that method of using stencils to get my stuff up there. And then yeah, and then I ended up cutting out a piece of wood at the top because my design wasn't really going to fit. I wanted it to be bigger, so I actually used a real saguaro rib. You can't really see it. I'm sorry, my pictures ain't that good. But she actually has a real saguaro rib that pops out of the roof. And then I cut a piece of board out to make it look like the top of the saguaro. And then I got some aluminum cans and painted them, made it look like the fruit at the top. So that was my first art project since high school, like I said. And I was really proud of it. I had some help starting out. This was on one of those rolling garage door things, so it was like really lumpy. So it was really hard to get this image up there, but I figured it out using boards and to make the straight lines and stuff like that. This one was all done with spray paint and just stencils, stuff, and a light projector again. So, and as you can know, you can see the top part of it better right here. I used the saguaro rib and like screwed it to the wall. So I posted up there. This is of course Sparky, the ASU mascot, but I replaced his pitchfork with the saguaro rib stick. This is a design I did just to, you know, have some, because my brother is a big ASU fan, and you know, it's a rival. Everybody, that's like a thing, you know, you guys know about it, you know what I'm talking about. You're like, whatever, those teams. We're lumberjacks, right? Okay, so this was my first event. There was a skate shop right in front of where my mural's at, and I got them, and I asked a bunch of other skate shops if they would like to help. I had just found out about this project going out on the reservation where they're trying to build a skate park, and this was like 2 hours from Tucson. It's like in the middle of nowhere. So all these kids had was just like this old beat up basketball court. So they try to do their best to raise some money and build a skate park. So they actually got help from Tony Hawk, and that's kind of how I heard about it. And so during my event, I wanted to do a raffle to help them out. So I got some other places that I knew that would donate me some skateboards and stuff for the kids, and we raised that money. And I raised like I think almost $1,000 for them. But I actually got this arts foundation to come out to my event, and they found out about them and ended up hooking them up with like a $10,000 grant to that. So that was pretty cool. I was glad to be at least the middleman to help them out, to be some part of that. So that was my first event, and I had this lady this whole family set up in the corner right here selling Indian fry bread And they had a big family. It was like, man, they were like going 12 deep. So I was like, man, we gotta hopefully people show up, because at first it didn't seem like nobody's gonna show up, and then boom, it was packed. It was a really awesome event. And on the other side of that bridge, we had all kinds of ramps, so all the kids and skaters were all skating over there, so it was really cool. And this was right when the pandemic was just letting up, and they're letting people come out, so that's why I think people were pretty excited to get out at the end of 2020. But that might have been actually early 2021. And then, so off of that, doing that event, I asked the people who had that wall, if I could do it. I showed them an image of my two designs, the Aeron Optimum Land and the Rufus, and they liked it. That's all I had. And then the other stuff I added to it as the painting was going on. So, so then after that, I got asked to help, paint this mural on, La Cocina, which is actually it's Old Town's Artisan Square. It's like the historic building. And so I was like, man, I was really nervous because it's like my first real like painting. So, and I'm actually just finishing this up right now. There's another one that I didn't bring. It's not quite complete yet, but I'll be posting it soon as I finish it. But this one I did with another fellow artist. She's I consider her a mentor, Johanna Martinez, and she has a lot of really good connections. And she wanted me to help her with this project, and I was honored to do it. So that was like, yeah, that was also in downtown Tucson. So my first two murals were right in downtown Tucson, which is pretty cool. So then me and another Yoeme artist, they used to call Yaqui, but they're Yoeme now is the original way to say their tribe. I wanted to do the original way to say Chukshan is Chukshan, not Tucson. So when the settlers came to Tucson, they're standing in front of a mountain, and the Sabaipari Atum, who were there at the time, they told them they asked them where they're at, and they said, we're at this is the Black Base, they called it, because it was like a lot of volcanic rock there. And so they said, this is the Black Base, which is Chukshan. And they heard it as Tucson, and that's how Tucson got its name. And so I did this mural, which is showing like the desert sunset here in Arizona, and the original way to say Tucson, and I did them. I wanted to put some images of the people. The first three letters are images of Atum people, and the other three letters are Yoeme people. And we actually kind of got in a little trouble from the Yoeme people, because I don't know, you can't really see it, but on the end, my buddy actually put like there was like a sacred clown that's not supposed to be portrayed or painted or anything like that. They only come around, I guess, during Lent time. The Yoeme have they have a lot of ceremonies revolving around Catholicism, but they kind of like hid some of their old ceremonies within this ceremony. It's like they're following like the Catholicism, but they're like putting their own little hidden ceremonies within it. I'm not Yoeme, but I'm just learning this kind of stuff, so it's pretty interesting. But anyway, during that Lent period of time, there was these clowns that come around, and they're like kind of like the tricksters. They're like getting you to do bad stuff, or they want you to do bad stuff, you know. They're like the tricksters are like, they teach you what not to do by doing. It's the best way I can explain what a trickster is. So they put one of those. So after they complained about that, he changed it and put some flowers at the end of it. But he waited 40 days, kind of like that Lent period of when only those guys come out. So that was pretty interesting. And I put up a woman wearing a basket on her head, and then the basket dancers, and then the woman harvesting the violets. So that was a project I did. This is at where my studio is at. And I actually share my studio with 3 other female artists. They're all really, really talented. We have a pretty nice studio, but, yeah, I was lucky enough to, find that studio and have some cool studio mates that also do some pretty cool art. So then I did this mural, and then I did an unveiling for this one, and I had some bands come out and perform, and then this one was kind of like to raise money for me to go to Pine Ridge, South Dakota, where my dad's from. And then that's when I painted this mural. And I don't know, you can't really see the lettering inside the ESCBC, but I had it standing for established before Christ. Well, the first one was actually before Columbus, established before Columbus, before Custer, before colonization. I run through a bunch of lists. I could have added so much more, but I could have added Cortez, Coronado, the Conquistadors, the Crusaders. But I added enough to where it didn't fill up the whole teepee. You know, I was trying to at least show the teepee also. And at the top of the building, I added my little signature move, and those are actually saguaro rips from Tucson that are used at the top of the teepee poles. I don't know if you can really see them, they're sticking out of the roof to make it look like the teepee's popping out of the roof. Those are actually saguaro rips from Tucson, so I have a little piece of Arizona up there. And this saying is a John Trudell quote. We're not Indians and we're not Native Americans, we're older than both concepts. We're the people, we're the human beings. And what he meant by that is, so, you know, like, I don't know if you know, like when Columbus got here, he thought he was in India. So that's why they thought we were Indians. So that's where that term Indians comes from. And then some people don't really like the Native American term. When he said this, he was saying it, and he was talking about just about how old and how long we've been here, and how the concept of America wasn't even, you know, thought of yet. We were here long before that. So like, and some people believe like, you know, you guys were all born here in America. You're Native Americans, you know, to some people that believe that, even though that's not legally how it goes, but that's where he was coming from that. And then he says, we're the people, we're the human beings. A lot of tribes, they like the Tohono O'odham means people of the desert. So it's usually, the tribes usually name it's usually like, we're the people of this area. And they're saying it in their language. So that's kind of how they want to be acknowledged, instead of putting into a whole big old group, oh, you're Indian, you're Native American, you know, that's kind of what he's saying, you know. And so when I did that mural, it was on the Billy Mills Hall, and Billy Mills was the only American to ever win this 10,000 meter race in the Olympics. It's a really, really amazing race if you ever get a chance to look at it. He was an alternative. He wasn't supposed to be there. He had to borrow somebody's shoes to enter the race. He beat his best time in this race by 1 minute and 54 seconds. He beat the world record holder at the time. On the last lap, he was going around and they pushed him and he almost fell. And then another runner came through and pushed him again. He almost fell. He fell so far back, he fell out of the picture. And then the last come on, he just comes around. It's really crazy, really, really cool video if you ever get a chance to watch it. And that's him winning right there. And I was going to talk about AIM, but I don't think I have time. This guy is a pretty well-known actor from South Dakota, and he's one of the starting members of AIM. And in this book, he actually talks about my dad. My name's in the book, Lucky Salway. It's pretty cool. He talks about my dad put him in his first rodeo. And my dad was pretty big. Oh, that's John Trudell, another AIM activist. But that's my dad. He was in the rodeo. He was a pretty well-known cowboy. When I say my name up there in South Dakota, everybody knows pretty much who he is and who his dad was. My grandfather's name, he went by Suitcase. And that was because he was a bootlegger. And he had like, he didn't just sell alcohol, he sold like chips, sodas, diapers. And they said that he would go around with a suitcase and he would have his store in his suitcase, no matter where he went. So that's how he got the name suitcase. And so this was, so when I got back, I did the Harvest Moon Fest, and that's when I had another mural unveiling for my murals at the La Cocina downtown Tucson. And I had some bands perform, some really well-known bands from Tucson. And we incorporated the food because that's what the murals were about. And right here, this is the saguaro fruit. That's how it looks when it's open, and the fruit is real fresh. You can eat it just like that. It's really good. So we had a bunch of tables trying to like promote healthy eating. A lot of people think popovers and fry bread is traditional, but it's not. It was something we put together with the scraps that they had given us. So more traditional, like most natives that you see now, that back in a long time ago, we were like really skinny, really healthy. We always ran. We were like, especially the Autumn here, they were really good runners, just like the Hopis and Navajos are really good runners. That's how we relayed messages back and forth. And running was a big part of the community. And eating healthy too. So once they took that away, they forced us to eat all this bad food and took away our hunting rights and our Religious Freedom Act. We didn't even get to start practicing our sweat lodges and ceremonies till 1978. All that. But like we couldn't even practice a sweat lodge or anything like that till 1978. And that's what AIM did, the American Indian Movement. That guy that I showed you the picture of, that's what they fought for. And they inspired me a lot. They did a lot of stuff that they put their lives on the line for what their cause was. They took over the town of Custer. They threw like fire bombs inside the courthouse when there was snipers on the roof, telling them they were going to shoot them. And they had their own snipers telling them, if you shoot them, we're going to shoot you. So they went in there and burned the courthouse down right in front of all the cops. That's pretty crazy and brave. And then they went and took over the town of Wounded Knee because all these churches were moving in trying to make all this money off of a massacre. So they went in there and took over, kicked everybody out, burned the church down, pretty much took that town over for a while. Then they even went to Washington, D.C. and took over the BIA building there and burned all kinds of files there. Like they're pretty radical. They also took over Alcatraz, the island of Alcatraz, for like a year, I believe. They just occupied it and took over. And so they were the ones who gave us that, fought for us to get the Religious Freedoms Act, where now we can practice our culture again. So that's why you may see a lot of natives and they don't know their culture, and that's why it was taken away from us. And a lot of us were heavily colonized. My mom is heavily Catholic. I don't really subscribe to that philosophy or nothing, but my mom does, and I respect that. That's her way. But yeah, it's a big part of a lot of our lives. And so this right here is a symbol for Donna Autumn Nation. It's a man in a maze. There's a lot of questions about how old it really is. There's stories that go back about it. And to me, I always thought it looked like our solar system with the sun in the middle and all these circles are like orbits. So then I put it up to it and they all actually fit. If you add Pluto as the last planet, then it is like a solar system. I know this is just my philosophy. I come up with this stuff, and people, if you show them other people this, you might try to buy that. No, it's whatever. But I just like to look at things in my own perspectives. So interesting thing about this is if you take Earth's orbit in this design, it circles my next design, which is this is a symbol I use for me. And it's like a combination of both of my tribes. So, in my Lakota tribe, we use the sweat lodge for, healing for healing and purification. And to me, this symbolizes sweat lodge. So in the sweat lodge, there's 16 poles that go into the ground. And if you count all these poles coming from the center, there's 16 exactly. And it's split into 4 rounds. You can see they're split into 4 with a bucket of water for each round. And then, so there's like these 4 buckets in each section. The bottom one has the section where it actually looks like the water is pouring out and going into the center. And then the spiral is the steam coming up. This is what I see. And it also looks like the door of a sweat lodge, because in the sweat lodge, it's a hanging blanket. You pick the blanket up and you go in. This is what a sweat lodge looks like with just the skeleton on it and the 16 poles that go around it. So that's like a Lakota ceremony, but it's like literally in the center of my other tribe's symbol that we're known for. So that's why I combine those two, and that kind of like makes my symbol. That's what I use it for. So that's pretty much it. This is the last piece I put together. I wanted to do something for our runners to remind our people that we were runners. And there's a little song right here that one of our tribal members made, and then a good friend of mine, Amy Wan. She's a really good friend of mine and a big time activist. She speaks up a lot for our people. She went to the UN, spoke up about the border wall, and there's a saying about her right there. And that is pretty much it. How am I on time? Perfect. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Any questions? Excuse me? Oh, so you just gotta look for them. Like a couple of weeks ago, my brother is a ranger out there in the walk community. So he drives around, and I was telling him while in his off time to look with the binoculars on the mountain if he could see some, and he was like, "Yeah, I see a big one up there." But so I had to like go like a quarter way up that mountain to go get it and bring it down. Yeah, but I brought like 2 big, huge sticks. They're really cool because they like grow out and then they go back into each other and then go out and then go in, and they get really long. So I put 2 of those together and actually use that at my stand. And I have like an autumn flag that I tie to it. So like, you can't miss me. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Sua Opakam. That means our runners. I heard a story that really impacted me about when the first time they came to pick up the children to take them to the boarding schools. This one lady had told me that the first time they came in wagons, next time they came in the bus, but when they came in the wagons, before the wagons got there, the runners came and told them, "This is what's happening. They're taking all the kids." And so she said that her grandfather ran into the mountains with his brother, and they actually lived in the mountains, and they escaped going to the boarding school, but that not everybody was that lucky, you know. They had to go, go to those boarding schools, and that's pretty much what changed everything. My mom never knew her dad, but she's half white. And so she was really light skinned. My mom didn't even know English till she was 9 years old. She only spoke Ottoman, but she was like half white, real light complected. And she was a really, really good athlete. Like that's how she met my father. They were both really good athletes, and they met like at a basketball tournament in Phoenix. But yeah, that story about the runners really impacted me, and that's one of the first paintings that I'm actually gonna do is involves with the learners in that story. Oh, yeah, that's right. So the logos that I did, everybody gets like, it's funny, the first time I showed my mom the Wildcat one, she was like, she got mad at me. I was like thinking, oh, she's gonna love this, you know? She got mad at me. She's like, you're gonna get in trouble, this and that. And I was like, oh, man. And then my other one too was the same way. But then I went and I talked to my cousin, who's a lawyer, and he advised me. He said, you know what? I think your logos actually fall into a little loophole called parody meant to educate, and that's what they all are actually. Without even trying, I was like doing that, and so yeah, all of them fall under that category. And then I kind of feel like our tribe too also sponsors so much events for ASU and U of A. I think it would probably be bad publicity if they came after me, maybe, and I'm just a little guy doing this, you know, right now. I don't think I'm doing too much damage to them. But yeah, I'd like to hopefully collab with them and have them buy like something on me, you know. Hopefully that'll come someday, but I haven't really pushed it. I know the president liked the logo one time, like I said, he saw it on the lady wearing the masks, and he complimented, he liked it. So I thought that was pretty cool, because another guy actually they got some students from U of A got sued. They had Los Gatos, which is you know, the cats. And they were doing like all these Dia de los Muertos stuff all over the face of the thing. And they're selling a lot of them, but they got in trouble. They got the cease and desist, and they ended up, I don't think they even stopped. And then they got sued. So they got in trouble and they lost some money. So I was actually like, at first when I did that, I was like, this is my baby, you know, I'm not gonna back down. If they tell me, I'm gonna fight him. Cause I was like, so when I first did my Year on Optum run, you know, it was pretty crazy because the very next month after I finished it, the university came out and made this big announcement that they acknowledged they're on Optum land. And I was like, well, that's right after. I never thought they would do that. But, and that's another thing too. The land acknowledgements are cool, but I mean, what is it? It's kind of like, I don't know how I feel about land acknowledgements. It's like you're just acknowledging you stole it. And like giving this event, like, I don't know, going towards native events or, you know, something, I don't know, it's just words. But it's cool. I mean, at least it's acknowledgeable. But yeah, is there any other questions? Yeah. So back then they had a lot of celebrities and donors helping them out. People who wanted, you know, that spiritual side of them. Yeah, people like that. Yeah, exactly. There was many others too that came along. Yeah, there's a lot of people wanted to be Indian. Like, I don't know if you ever heard about this lady, this just came news, Buffy St. Marie. She was like an icon for Native Americans. And they just found out that she wasn't even Native. And she took so many awards away from people and grants. And it's just, wow, she's crazy. And everybody was like, so respected her so much. And it's just like, yeah, it shook us up. Yeah, those things could have went to a lot of other people. I think one of the artists she beat out at one of these big native events, her life kind of spiraled out and she ended up committing suicide. And I don't know if she might have done the same thing, but you know, you hear stuff like that and makes you feel a little angry. that people would do that, you know. When I sell my stuff at my events, I have a little sign. And it talks about cultural appreciation and cultural appropriation and what those mean. And I should have brought the sign, but it basically when you appreciation is if they're out there selling it for you to buy it, that means it's okay. But if somebody's like taking pieces of another culture to use in a disrespectful way, or wearing regalia not associated with ceremony, you know, like going to a game with the headdress on and stuff like that, that's really disrespectful. So it's like, you know, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. 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 Um, so I've heard there's actually a real story, a real good story that I'm trying to get it recorded by my friend Amy Wan. But there's a lot more to it, but the basics of the story is the center represents the 4 life cycles you go through. Each time you touch the center is a different part of your life. So the man right here at the top, he hasn't been born yet. Like he's symbolically probably coming out the womb. As soon as he touches the center, that's when he's born. The next time he goes around through that life's ups and downs, as you can say, and then he comes back to the center again. That's a different part of his life. That's when he's like turning into an adolescent. You know, then you come to adulthood, and then as an elder, and then there's a little pocket like so that's where I got the symbolism. For me, that's where I got that from. Because you can people have their own. So okay, so let me go backwards a little bit. Due to colonization and us being kind of like a lot of nomadic people, we were spread out a lot. So a lot of us don't have the same beliefs even, or the same ways of living. And so I'm sorry, Thomas. Also, there's different dialects everywhere. Like somebody will spell Chukshan how I spell it, they won't spell it like that. If you go like to the next village over, and then the next village over, they'll say it a whole different way. So this is just like just part of the, I guess, colonization process. I don't know if I answered that. Yeah, but that's the maze is there, like I said, it starts out with the drawing in the center. It's actually really easy to draw once you learn how to draw it. But yeah, like I said, I see these as like buckets of water in each ceremony. And also, I don't know if you know about like procession of equinoxes and stuff like that, and how they say we're in the time of, we're supposed to be like moving into the age of Aquarius and all that stuff. And in the age of Aquarius, you know, that's like a man pouring water. And that's what we do in our ceremony, in the soil out ceremony. It's earth, wind, fire, and water. We pour the water on the hot rocks to create the steam, and the steam is really healing. So it's a healing ceremony. Yeah. More questions? Yeah. 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 All those years before, I was self-taught. I taught myself Corel Draw. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. A lot of people are using Illustrator, but I couldn't. It was just too hard for me. Corel was easier, and that's what I learned with, and that's what I still continue to use to this day. And, yeah, so I got a grant. Growing up, I had like, the longest job I had was like, probably 8 months. And then until I found like wildland firefighting, and I loved that. I did that for a while. But then my tribe was giving out grants, and, I actually had to write my own business plan and go to these business classes, and I did all that. And, people were actually paying people to write their business plans out for them, and they were failing. I did mine all by myself, and I passed them the first time. And so, then I bought my equipment, had to drive all the way to Houston to get it. And then, I came back and I was literally like learning everything from YouTube. I even actually made a shirt that says University of YouTube Alumni. That's my university. Yeah, so that's how I started with, was, screen printing, but like in high school, I loved art. I was discouraged to go to art school. Um, I had a stepbrother, who was an artist, and he was a pretty wild guy in the 70s. He did too much drugs and fried his brain. He was like not, he was a scary guy to be around. He was an artist, and my mom was like, "Oh, you're not gonna be no artist like that," you know? So I was like, all right. So I was trying to find myself, I guess. And it all ended up coming back to art. So I was really meant to be an artist, my mom thought otherwise. And still sometimes she's like, it was funny, I told her I'm coming up here to talk to some students, and she's like, "Oh, that's cool. For art, right?" I was like, "Yeah, mom, I'm an artist." She still can't get over it. That's that. And it's hard for me to communicate with her through the art, because she's so connected to the Catholicism way. And it's a lot of that with a lot of us natives, we're raised Catholic, but we don't feel a connection to that. So we pulled back to our old ways, and that's where I'm at. I'm still learning. I don't wish I knew a lot more, but I'm learning, and it's a really cool thing to be learning your culture and how powerful it makes you just by learning, and how powerful it makes you feel. Thank you. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, looking forward to it. Great.